everyone, it's time to talk about DLC Wave 3, and you all know the drill. I'm going to explain in depth how each emblem works and then rate them on our tier list. So let's jump right into it. First up, the emblem of gay sex, Chrom and Robin. You might think this is just a haha funny joke, but their primary engaged skill is literally called Other Half. So, yeah, gay sex. This skill causes Robin to jump out and chain attack before a round of combat. It also grants the unit 10 magic. I think the stat boost here is what's really interesting. The ring grants 3 strength, 5 dex, and 4 speed natively. That means this is probably the only ring that buffs both strength and magic, though magic is obviously buffed way more than strength. And I think a lot of Chrom and Robin's kit synergizes well with hybrid units in a way very few other emblems do. And the extra chain attacks from Robin are obviously always appreciated as well. When equipped to a dragon unit, Robin will chain attack twice instead of once. Backup units will make Robin chain attack guaranteed to hit instead of having 80 hit. Covert units grant +1 move, which doesn't really interact with the theming of this skill at all, but hey, 1 extra move is 1 extra move. While not engaged, Chrom gives your units access to surprise attack. The skill allows you to attack without fear of the enemy's counterattack. However, the skill only works if the unit is standing on terrain that grants avoid. I'll be honest, I think this skill is too restrictive as a whole to be really good. The effect is strong, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't have been that overpowered if it just worked on any terrain that gives you a boost. Only working on avoid boost terrain just feels needlessly restrictive. And since breaking basically gives you free attacks without counters anyways and is much easier to use, I don't think surprise attack is actually that good. Another of Chrom's sync skills is Rally Spectrum. This skill allows you to grant allies +3 to every single stat until the beginning of your next turn. It's similar to Violet's Instruct, except it buffs all stats no matter what kind of unit it's attached to, and it doesn't need an engage to be available. So basically, what if Violet's Instruct got superpower crept? It's really strong, and I don't think Chrom has many skills that make him stand out combat-wise, so it doesn't really feel like you lose anything by making him a rally bot. He doesn't have any other skills that play into that kind of support style, sure, but this skill is strong enough that he doesn't really need any to be good support. Next, we have Brute Force. This skill increases your crit damage. Similar to what I said in the last video about Camilla's similar skill, I don't know why you'd use one of your valuable skill slots on this for inheritance purposes when you could grab a damage boost that works even if you don't crit, and still works if you do. But hey, this is increasing your actual damage instead of dealing damage after combat, which I think makes it way better than Camilla's. I'm sure you could use it on a Pinette Ike build pretty well, or on other units who crit. And when it's a sync skill on Chrom, it's nice and has no real downside. Charm is our last sync skill, which increases chain attack accuracy to 90 instead of 80. This is another skill that just feels a little weirdly weak, like Surprise Attack. Would it really have been too strong to just buff our chain attack to 100? It doesn't feel great as an inheritable skill to use one of your 2 skill slots for anything less than a guaranteed chance. It's a good skill, but it definitely could have been better without feeling broken. Let's round out Chrom's kit by talking about his engage attack, Giga 11 Sword. Giga 11 Sword is a magic attack that uses your physical stats. So it targets the enemy's res, but uses strength for your damage. This can help a lot of units get past strong defense tanks like armor units. At the same time, it isn't that good. It doesn't do any extra damage, it just targets a different defense stat, so enemies like bosses who have high defense and res really won't be hit any harder than usual. Few of the synergies can help with that. Dragon units gain extra damage equal to half their strength. Not bad, but this could have been a base effect of Giga 11 Sword and it would have been fine. Flying units deal extra damage based on your build, and mystical units deal extra damage based on half of their magic, allowing you to get some other stats involved instead of basing everything off raw strength. When Chrom and Robin are next to Lucina, they get access to Engage Attack Plus, which allows Giga 11 Sword to cause adjacent allies to chain attack. This basically adds Lucina's All for One ability to Giga 11 Sword. Since All for One felt kind of weak without a lot of setup, Giga 11 Sword Plus also feels weak without a lot of setup. Plus, Lucina needing to be next to Chrom and Robin means the setup is even more of a pain in the ass to perform. Is it worth it? I mean, it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's a crazy buff to the attack or anything like that. Last, let's talk about Chrom and Robin's Inheritable. Their stat boost gives speed and dex +5. I'd rather take any other stat boost with my speed than dex, as very few units end up with dex so low that they need the boost. You can argue in favor of the Lords with their dex proc skills wanting this, but overall dex is just not a stat you want to use a skill slot to boost. Let's be honest, the Lords aren't that good. Sword Guard 5 is probably the weakest guard skill since swords do a lot less damage than other weapon types. I don't think the guard skills are all that worthwhile unless you're calculating to survive a very specific attack and from a very specific enemy for a challenge run or something. Just a little too small of a use case over a general defense buff. Lastly, we have weapons. Chrom grants everyone access to a Levin sword, which is a sword that deals magic damage. Magic units love this, since most of them use tomes and can't interact with the weapon triangle very much without a magic weapon like the Levin sword. Still, you get a Levin sword pretty early on, and you can just go Mage Knight, which is a pretty good class to get sword access on a magic unit, so it's not like this is giving you something you wouldn't be able to get any other way. Next is Thoron, a powerful thunder magic spell that lets you strike from 3 tiles away. Thoron spells are available in-game normally, and this one isn't all that different from the normal weapon. It's strong enough early game when Thoron is hard to get, but late game you can forge a much stronger one if you wanted to get a lot of Thoron damage out. Last we have our third Falchion. It's a sword, it's effective on dragons, you guys know the drill. Overall, Chrom and Robin don't really feel like they have any weapons we haven't already seen in other places. I'm ranking Chrom and Robin in the B tier. Rally Spectrum saved them hard. That skill alone is enough to make a huge difference here. The 10 magic boost from Robin is also really good just from a raw stat perspective, but outside of that, they're really not that good. They aren't doing anything you can't get from other emblems, and often other emblems just do their jobs better. Lucina grants you a way better dual attack potential than Robin, a lot of engaged attack nukes better than the Giga Levin sword. Overall, it's not that great. I think there's even arguments for putting them down to C tier with Marth and Erica, but Rally Spectrum is kind of better than anything Marth or Erica are offering, so I'm gonna keep them in B. Our final emblem is the Emblem of Gambling Addictions, Veronica. Veronica's main gimmick is her Engage attack, which allows her to summon another hero to fight alongside your army. When you choose to summon, you'll be allowed to pick an orb color which determines what kind of weapon the unit has. Then the unit will get to be a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star unit. 3-star units are fabrications in base classes, who will always be 2 levels lower than the summoner. 4-star units are fabrications in advanced classes, meaning they have class changed, and are the same level as the summoner. 5-star units will be emblems, complete with their full set of skills, and one of 3 potential weapons. I'm not going to list every single possible weapon and unit here, because this video would just be me reading the Fire Emblem Wiki for the next 30 minutes, and no one wants that since I'm illiterate anyways. I just want to make the point that the weapon they get is further randomized. Once summoned on colorless with the hope I could get a bow unit to kill some flyers on a skirmish during the bridge chapter. I ended up summoning Celica, with a fucking recover staff. The only thing she could do was run forward and die. So even if you are lucky enough to get a 5-star, sometimes it's just not a 5-star that's good in your situation. Because of that, you basically always have to use this ability to summon meat shields to throw out there and take damage. You can't even plan around the unit you summon being able to necessarily do damage to the enemies. Rune Sword Hector is real and ready to 0 damage that mage you summoned him to kill. The Dragon Synergy gives you slightly better odds of a stronger unit by merging the 3 and 4-star together. Normally your odds of a 3-star are 30%, 4-star is 40%, and 5-star is another 30%. But with Dragon units, you have a 70% chance of a 4-star and 30% chance of a 5-star, so it just gets rid of the 3-star chance entirely. However, since it doesn't increase your odds of getting actually fun 5-star units, who really gives a shit? Wow, I got a Paladin fabrication instead of a Cavalier, whoop-de-fucking-do. I can't believe Intelligence Systems tricked me into paying $29.99 to summon 4-star fodder. Again. Backup units give every unit you summon Lucina's dual strike ability, allowing them to act as backup fodder no matter what class they end up being. This is actually really good and gives your summons a consistent utility no matter who you summon. Unless you summon a staff unit, then you're still fucked. Covert units, on the other hand, grant you +1 move on the summoned unit, which is nice, but still doesn't guarantee my summon will actually be combat proficient. You may have picked up on it, but I think this engage attack is too random to actually be good for anything other than summoning Death Fodder. Not to say that summoning Death Fodder isn't a really good ability, but Lyn does that too, and Bunet is also there, so what else you got for us, Veronica? The answer comes in the form of Veronica's engage skill, Contract. This skill grants you another action, but you have to take that action from the panel you are standing on. Basically, this is a dance, and you can't move after dancing, you can only attack or eat a consumable, or something else that doesn't require you to move. I guess you could use Roy's Advance or something to get around moving, but it just feels like a weaker form of dance. On the other hand, we now have an absolutely absurd number of ways to make a unit take an additional action. We have Sea Doll's Dance, Byleth's Dance, Edelgard's 2 separate actions to let her move again, and now Contract. It's kind of silly how many ways you have of moving again, and I think Contract fitting into that ecosystem makes it extremely powerful, even if it is the weakest of these effects. When equipped to a dragon unit, Contract grants Strength, Magic Defense, and Res +2 for the duration of the bonus action. A nice little buff to all the important stats sans speed, but it doesn't last through the enemy phase, which kinda sucks. Backup units with Contract will chain attack during the bonus action, for a nice little boost to their damage. Covert units will grant hit and avoid to the unit during the action, making it a safer action. Overall, I think Contract is a pretty good skill. Next up is Reprise, Veronica's first sync skill. Allows you to deal damage based on 50% of your lost health. Basically, the more hurt you are, the more damage you get. It can be inherited for 5000 SP, which grants it a nice synergy with Wrath or Resolve from Ike, Vantage from Leaf, and other similar danger mode skills. Next we have Book of Worlds. This sync skill grants a new effect every time you hit Wait, then activates each effect simultaneously on the next attack. I think if this ability went off if you didn't attack, rather than requiring you to specifically hit the Wait option, and therefore worked in conjunction with Summon or Contract, it'd be really good. But requiring you to waste turns kinda sucks. You can charge it while all your other units do the actual work and then kill a boss with it, but it's really just gimping your Veronica unit for the rest of the level. You could make sure you only fight on defense, thus hitting Wait every turn but still using them in combat, but this is really a game designed around player phase, and Veronica isn't giving you any kind of boosts during enemy phase. Book 1, which activates after waiting 1 turn, grants you Seal, which freezes the enemy in place. Book 2 is Flame, which sets the enemy's space on fire. For all those times you need a 1-tile fire when you have 18 billion emblems granting you way more fire than that on demand. Book 3 is Death, which deals 10 damage to the enemy before combat begins, making it easier to kill them, which would be good if you didn't have to wait 3 turns to use it. Book 4 is Dream, which heals you based on the damage dealt. Book 5 is Science, which heals everyone around you as well as yourself. The skill is definitely too convoluted to be good, and requires too much downtime to get the good charges. But it does only cost 300 SP, and it would be funny to have an entire army of book nerds. Next, we have Level Boost. This sync skill increases your level by 1 temporarily until the end of the battle. It's not an actual level up. Anytime you kill an enemy who is higher level than you. It's cool if you have someone behind the level curve you can feed kills to, but since it caps out at only 3 levels, I don't know if it's that strong. Definitely not worth being underleveled just to grab the skill, and I don't think it's strong enough to make your underleveled unit suddenly good. SP conversion grants you 20 SP every time you kill an enemy. This skill can be inherited for cheap and is amazing for fixing the game's SP economy. The thing is though, Veronica dropped at the same time as the Well update, and visiting the Well between every level gives you way more SP faster and with less resources spent. On the other hand, I hate going to Somnial after every damn map to check my Well, but I'd personally rather run SP convert. It's a really good skill, it just dropped at the same time as other fixes to the SP economy which keeps it from being required. For inheritables, Veronica gives you Magic and Dex +5. Again, I don't think Dex is worth a skill slot over other stats, especially now that the SP problem is solved for the more extensive stat buffs. It's better than just Magic, but worse than anything else paired with Magic. And then we have Knife Guard. Since knives are another low might weapon type, like swords, this also isn't very good. I think it's technically better than Sword Guard because if you get a knife to deal 0 damage, you're also immune to the poison, but poison is really not relevant in this game, it's just 1 extra damage, so eh. For weapons, we have this staff I can't pronounce. It lets you attack without the enemy counterattack. Like Crom's surprise attack, but without having to, think about terrain and stuff. Then we have Fortify Plus. This staff will heal everyone in a 7-tile radius and cure their status conditions for good measure. This fits really well with the rest of Veronica's support kit with Summons and Contract. It is another action I wish she could take while charging her books. And then we have that tome there. This tome nullifies stat bonuses on enemies for 1 turn. This tool made me really think about it, and outside of the times you fight emblems as bosses, I don't think many enemies actually boost their stats in this game. This is a weird case of having a good effect, and very few enemies you can actually use it on. I think Veronica is another solid B tier, maybe C tier emblem. I think Contract is very strong in the context of the other emblems in the game, but Veronica isn't a game-changing emblem on her own. I think summons being so random makes them kind of bad as support. I think her books aren't very good either. She's fine, but it's really just her one extra action skill that's keeping her from C tier. She just struggles to offer anything really unique or interesting. And that brings us to the end of the series. They kind of let us off on a surprisingly low note with these last two emblems. I guess they really wanted to front load the good ones or something. What I think is really interesting is that there were no Qui-Adept synergies, meaning I never had to say the word Qui-Adept during this video. I bet you guys are really happy I couldn't find an excuse to say Qui-Adept this time around. And with that, I'll see you around for more, this time non-Fire Emblem related coverage when the 4th wave of DLC drops. Bye!